Welcome in, everybody, to NFL Power Rankings. I'm Colleen Wolfe alongside the great MJD, the new Hall of Famer in UCLA.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Also, I learned he's a poet, so you know what? The more you know on the show. And Elliot Harrison, he's been writing these rankings for 7 years. I've never seen a guy with a memory like this guy right here. So what are we in store for today?
Well, I got a new number one that I think you're going to be interested in. Also, I got a team that's down 11 spots, and then two teams that MJD loves are climbing up the rankings. It pains me to say it, but we're going to talk about it.
It's all coming up us right now, MJD, because look at who's at the top of the top 10 here. The Eagles are number one after their Monday night win over the Redskins. Elliot, look at them flying right now.
Yeah, now both you guys said that I should have had them number one over Kansas City last week, so credit to you guys. But I've really been on the Eagles since August. I thought they were a playoff team. I thought they would be the threat to the Cowboys in the NFC East, and they've proven it so far. I did not expect Carson Wentz would be an MVP candidate.
Well, I think they played a ton of tough opponents, and that he's playing well right now. No running game. Carson Wentz in his second year made a huge jump. They put a ton of QB knowledge around him as well, and they've given him weapons. And then Zach Ertz starting faster than what he's done. That's helping him out, and that defense is opportunistic as well.
He's been consistent. I'm really worried about the loss of Jason Peters, but we'll see how that affects him and then in the rankings next week. But what about that number two team, the Rams, right now? What would it take for them to get that number one spot, Elliot?
Well, I like that their defense is going to improve with Wade Phillips, I think, over the back half of the schedule. But I think the thing that holds them behind Philadelphia is the quarterback play for the Rams right now, I would call viable. I wouldn't say that this is a guy that could put them on their back, and I think we've seen that from Carson Wentz so far.
Well, I have to disagree. The reason being
is it the V word?
It is the V word that gets me viable. I think Jared Goff has done better than that. I think when the game's been on the line against the Seahawks, he drove them down the field in a 2-minute situation and was able to execute. When you play the San Francisco 49ers, he scored a ton. Look at this drive. Look at this throw, Elliot. Look at that. That's
Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, right there. Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, all those guys are right there. Wasn't afraid. Look at this next throw. I think this is the one to Robert Woods. Yes, right across the middle, Robert Woods. He is throwing the ball with conviction. He knows where these guys are going to be. He's taking over this offense. And let's remember, this is the first time. This is the touchdown to win the game. That wins the game then. This is his first time in a new offense where Carson Wentz has been the same offense for 2 years. Give him another chance. I think you'll see his growth as Carson Wentz did.
I understand your point. It's just they had the interception against the Redskins at the end of that game. He had one against Deone Buchanan in London. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think that he's viable for them. He's not a top 10 quarterback at this point.
No, I mean, he has 9 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. You look at what Carson Wentz has been able to do, 17 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So, I mean...
You're an Eagles fan, so I'm not going to argue with you.
I'm just saying. All right, fine.
Cowboys ready! Let's go to world! Everything that's in here! We dominate! Let's go!
Bring them out!
High stepping, drops into the end zone.
Tyreek Hill!
64-yard bomb!
It's stolen away, and the Steelers play takeaway.
Looking for Gronk to lead the way with a block. Touchdown!
He leaps into the end zone! What a leaping grab by Antonio Brown!
Taken down by Kyle Van Noy!
He put a big old stiff arm on Drake Fitzpatrick.
Hey, just watch! Continue watching!
So the Steelers, Chiefs, and Patriots round out the top 5 here, as you can see, in this top 10, Elliot.
Yeah, a couple other teams, too, here. I didn't drop the Redskins too low. They're playing without Josh Norman. They've lost 3 games, 2 to the Eagles and 1 to the Chiefs. I think they're better than people think.
Okay, so it looks like, according to your rankings, the Steelers are the best AFC team for you because they're ranked 3. Who do you think is the best team in the AFC?
I still have to go with the Chiefs. I think that they're playing through a lot of injuries. They have a lot of guys going down, and Alex Smith is playing at an MVP level. We haven't seen this type of Alex Smith before, and they've won 11 games with the old Alex Smith. So with this guy, I think they're still going to be tough to beat, but they have to get people at home. The one team they don't want to play, and it's weird in this league that happens, Pittsburgh always has their number regardless of how good they're playing, right? But still, I mean, you go to San Francisco, or you lose to Pittsburgh on a crazy play. You lose to Oakland and I'm a Raiders fan, having multiple chances at a touchdown at the end of the game.
4 final plays in the game there.
I think the Chiefs are still the toughest team to beat.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are a good team. Obviously, I have them at 4, but the reason I have the Steelers higher, Colleen, is because the Steelers beat them head-to-head, and it wasn't like week 1 or week 2, okay? It was just 2 weeks ago. And I think what people might be missing is Le'Veon Bell carried the ball 35 times Sunday. Keith Butler's defense is playing fantastic. That's the Steelers' defensive coordinator. They don't necessarily need Ben Roethlisberger to air it out. They can win the game just running the ball, playing defense. You see it right there. And Le'Veon Bell, best back in the game. Period.
Yeah, here is a look at 11 through 20, the rankings there, and only 2 teams really, I think, fell in this one. Or you have the Falcons are all the way down at 19.
Yeah, they just looked awful. They've had 3 bad games in a row. Tennessee won, and I actually moved them down. They went to overtime there in Cleveland.
Yeah, so 4 teams actually fell this week, but the Panthers right now are at 16 after an awful loss.
Yeah, I hated to drop them this far, but honestly, I held steady. When they lost to the Eagles, I didn't move them at all. Then they played really bad against the Bears, and this game was ugly. This might have been the ugliest performance by a team other than the Cardinals in Week 7. So, to me, I thought Carolina was deserving that drop, and a lot of the teams behind them played very well.
But we have to remember, their offense played bad. Their defense held the Bears at 3 points. So let's remember that. I mean, these are one of the things that you have to do.
This was the Eddie Jackson game.
Yeah, this was Eddie Jackson scored more than everybody. So I think here in this situation, Cam had a bad day. They normally play well on the road. I think they're going to bounce back. They are where they're supposed to be right now. They're in the middle of the road right now. So eventually, they'll get up back in that top 10.
Cam's evil twin showed up, and that's what happens in these games.
Which happens a lot.
I know. How about 21-30 here? Elliot,
I'm happy with this.
Of course you are. You say it every week. I know.
Not.
This is the tier you really don't want to be in, but if you're the Broncos, you're down 8 spots at 21.
Yeah, well, they were ugly against the Chargers. You know, we always think of a blowout in the NFL as like 44-3 or something like with the Ravens, the Jags-Ravens game in London. Sometimes you win 21-0 and it's just as bad. The Broncos couldn't do anything in this game. They gave it up on offense, on defense, and even special teams they lost.
Well, the biggest thing for me is this Chargers defense went crazy. And it seemed like this Broncos offense hasn't scored in 3 or 4 weeks when it's only been probably 7 quarters. So right now they have to figure out what they're going to do on offense because that defense, you've lost so many pieces. Von Miller can't do everything. Shane Ray needs to come back, and that back end has to step up in order for them to change things.
Here's a look at the top 8 in Week 8 of the Power Rankings. Of course, we've talked about a few of these teams already, but we're zeroing in on that number 8 spot, the Saints, with too high, too low. So the Saints, big win over the Packers, who, of course, were without Aaron Rodgers. They had Brett Hundley, but are they too high or too low, MJD?
I think they're too high right now because the main guy that we know the Saints to be to help them win is Drew Brees. And he's not really playing well, to be honest with you.
Two bad picks in this game.
He's bad picks back-to-back weeks. He had some against Detroit. I think, again, the running game is helping them out right now, and the defense is playing well, but can we rely on that? They never have. I don't trust it.
You know, Colleen, the only thing that's ascending higher than the Saints right now is MJD's flip-flopping on the Saints. First they were horrible.
To call them out?
Then they were supposed to be higher.
It's a week-by-week lead.
Then I move them up. He says they're too high. Hey, they took care of business in Green Bay. It's not their fault Aaron Rodgers wasn't there.
What about the Lions? They were on bye this week. They're at 17. Is this too high, too low?
I think they're too low, and you dropped them one. I know you don't like to drop people, but I think this team, anytime you go to the Saints and play the Saints, you're going to lose. I mean, it's just one of the deals. Like, it doesn't matter who it is. I know the Patriots are able to win, but still, they're a good team. I think that they're too low. They should jump up, and you shouldn't be able to drop them on a bye, Elliot.
Okay, but you were just talking about the Saints being too high, and then you're saying that was a tough game for the Lions down in New Orleans. Listen, man, they're on a bye. I try not to move bye teams. They've been not so good for the last 3 or 4 weeks. They're a middle-of-the-pack team just like Carolina.
I mean, the Saints defense just crushed them in that game.
Don't yell at me, yell at him.
What about the Raiders? Let's talk about your own
enough's
squad
enough.
At number 22.
Enough's enough. You know this is too low. They just knocked off the number 1 team.
This is
you move them up 3
disrespectful.
spots. You might as well slap my mother when you do stuff like this. And then put this on paper.
All right, either that or maybe give the Raiders 8 more plays from the half-yard line. Maybe they'll win more decisively.
No, I don't hear that. Listen, I love this team.
It was a nice performance. It's a great one-off. Is it more than a one-off? I think that's what we're going to find out. And then
I don't know. We'll see. But I want to know about the Jags because we're just going to go all MJD teams at this point. But at number 11, they had no Leonard Fournette, and they won that game. What do you think?
I wouldn't tell you about it, but I have a guy here. Let me bring in my secret weapon.
You're bringing him back up?
My secret weapon, Mercedes Lewis.
Lewis?
My guy from college.
Okay.
Mercedes, are you guys a number 11th ranked team in the league right now?
I think we should be cracking that top 10.
Top 10.
I mean, that's just how I'm feeling.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you guys have a good team. You know, I just the running game is great. No Fournette, TJ Yeldon involved. The defense has been there all year. Thinking of the Pittsburgh game in particular. But when you guys have giveaways, I don't know that y'all been able to overcome some of those yet, and I think y'all could use a veteran tight end. Those two things.
He is a veteran tight end.
That was a little.
We're going to let that slide. We're going to let it slide. We're going to let it slide. He's trying.
Am I wrong about what I'm saying?
You're kind of. I think that.
You can say yes.
I think that the good teams find ways to win. You know, and like last week, no Fournette. Everybody was talking about, oh, they need to run the ball, they need to do this. And Blake threw for 330, right?
One of his best
Who did he
games.
throw a touchdown to, though?
Oh, he knew. You already know.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
You're in the red zone, throw it to my guy.
That's easy.
You need to get way more love out there. I don't understand.
I appreciate that.
That London game, you went off.
I appreciate that.
It just doesn't make sense when I'm watching,
if I
and
could
that
throw the ball
defense
to
is
myself,
falling.
I have 3 touchdowns
And I
every
threw the
day.
ball. You know, I threw the ball to you a couple
Every
times.
Mercedes, before you leave, who is the best running back you ever played with?
Ooh, you gonna do me like that?
Just wondering. Just wondering.
Next on power rankings.
I would say,
right.
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah, we got it. All right, here's a look back at 11 through 15. A couple of Texas teams take center stage in this week's Balance of Power, guys.
Well, Colleen, I'm glad you tossed it over because when I first saw this list, I said, Elliot, we got to talk about Texas. Texas has a lot going on. The Cowboys are back coming off a big game. Houston's coming off a bye. So when we're looking at these guys, rush offense, go ahead and touch the Cowboys. Ezekiel and those guys have been taking care of business. And when you think about the passing game, I know a lot of people like Dak's coming on strong. I know you were one of those guys, but I have to give it to Deshaun Watson.
I'm okay with that.
And reason being is this young man's doing something they've never had there, a consistent piece at the quarterback position. He's taking shots downfield. He's finding Will Fuller. He's finding Hopkins. He's finding everybody, Lamar Miller. And with his legs, he's able to make things happen.
Yeah, Cowboys had a great game against the 49ers. Dak had a great game, but he's been inconsistent on a lot of the short stuff. Deshaun Watson's been incredibly exciting. And let's not forget using his legs, too, which I guess is part of rush offense, but it's the quarterback position.
He's helping him out. Now, when you go to rush defense, I was looking, I said, I want to go give to Houston. But now you have Whitney Merciless, you have J.J. Watt hurt, and Clowney's a little banged up. So I'm going to give it to the Cowboys. They've done a great job. These guys have done an awesome job of just shutting down the run early on. When you go to pass defense, I got to give it to Jonathan Joseph and that secondary here with the Houston Texans. They've done a great job of getting turnovers, and that's what the pass defense is all about. When I go to coaching, this is my hardest one. I look at Jason Garrett and I say, man, you've been there a long time.
Been there a long time.
Bill O'Brien has won more titles with less, and I'm going to give it to him.
At the quarterback position.
The tiebreaker.
Oh, no, this is, Billy O. I give it to Billy O. And it got nothing to do with him being a Patriots fan. He won an AFC South title with Brian Hoyer. That's all that matters.
Some really good matchups we have coming up this week here. As you can see them, you got the Bears and the Saints as that defense improves. Of course, the Texans and the Seahawks. But which game do you think is going to have the biggest impact on next week's rankings?
That 14 at 5. I think Phillip Rivers and the company has a great chance to go up to Foxborough and win. Phillip Rivers is never scared to win up there. He goes up there and plays well. It's if that defense can hold up. And we've seen the way those pass rushers are getting to the quarterback right now. New England better watch out because they may get tough.
That's an early start, though, too. 1 o'clock.
That's cheating.
Okay.
That's a shame.
All right, Elliot, what do you think?
Yeah, I like a lot of these games. I like the Texans at the Seahawks. That's definitely a game that I'm looking at right now because you've got Deshaun Watson playing Seattle, and I thought this game was going to be great early on. I thought Tony Romo was going to start for Houston. I thought the Texans would have J.J. Watt. Neither one of those things happened, and it's still a fun game, and we'll see how legit Houston really is.
I'm so glad they have Deshaun Watson now. It just makes it so much more fun. Who could wreck the rankings with an upset, Elliot?
I think the Raiders at Buffalo. The Bills been playing very good defensively. The Bucs finally, though, made some hay on them in Buffalo, and I think the Raiders' offense is going. MJD is real big on their offense with Derek Carr. Derek Carr gets hot. The Raiders go in there and beat the Bills. It is really going to upset the rankings with Buffalo in the top 10.
Yeah, and the Bills, they've been playing a lot better, so it's not one to sleep on. Now, this is the time for you to get on stage here and talk about the teams that we didn't get to. We're going to give you 30 seconds on the clock.
You tell me when I can go. All right, let's start with the San Francisco 49ers. Loved the honoring of Dwight Clark, man. The guy changed the course of NFL history. Total class. Tampa Bay Buccaneers still can't get it right on defense. Green Bay Packers, let's give Brett Hundley a chance. Let's not, after one game, freak out. Matt Moore, incredible poise. Throws an interception, then comes back, leads that win. And the Bears, people are going to start to have to give them a little bit of respect. And also my main man here, Freeman McNeil, leads the league in rushing as a UCLA grad in 1982, and then all of a sudden, almost 30 years later, Maurice Jones-Drew.
Look at you. Congratulations.